everyone, my name is Madeline Scopa, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about serial killers. I'm going to start by opening up with a quote from Ted Bundy. "We serial killers are your sons, we are your husbands, we are everywhere, and there will be more of your children dead tomorrow." Now, what drives a perfectly normal person into being someone like Ted Bundy? That's what I'm going to discuss today. I'm going to compare brain scans between a perfectly normal person and a serial killer like Ted Bundy. Then I'm going to talk about how trauma and childhood trauma can create a serial killer. And then I'm going to talk about what goes on during a psychotic break. Now, one of the biggest differences between a brain of a serial killer compared to a normal brain is that serial killers have a very low orbital cortex activity. As you can see in these scans right here, there is a lot of activity going on, and it is bright green and yellow and lots of function. Now on this one, there is little to no activity going on. This is the brain scan of a normal person, and this is the brain scan of a psychopath. Now, Fallon studied serial killers' brains for well over 20 years, and we can conclude from his extensive research that this part of the brain is what really determines our feelings and our decisions and how we behave. Now, if someone is lacking this part of the brain, they are more prone to making rash and risky decisions. This can also lead to drinking, sex, violence, and rage. This is usually because of some sort of built-up trauma in someone's life that there is low activity in this part of the brain. Now, one of the biggest questions asked is that are serial killers born this way, or are they raised to be serial killers? Different types of trauma result in different types of serial killers. Such as a child who was sexually abused when they were younger, they are more likely to have rape and anger typologies and then have overkill or post-mortem sex to their victim, which is sexual acts after the victim has already died. Whereas a child who is psychologically abused, they are more prone to torture and abuse their victims. FBI profiler Jim Clemente explained that genetics is what loads the gun, personality and psychology aim it, and their experiences pull the trigger. For example, serial killer Edmund Kemper, his childhood trauma started when he was only 9 years old and his parents were in a very messy divorce. His alcoholic mother blamed him for everything that happened, and her hatred towards her son only grew. She wouldn't allow him to sleep in his own room, and she made him sleep in the basement so he wouldn't be near his two younger sisters. Now, after that, he was moved in with his grandparents on their farm, and shortly after he arrived, his grandparents had to confiscate all of their rifles because he wouldn't stop killing all of the animals on their farm. Now, with no outlet to put his rage into, he started threatening his grandparents, and he threatened to shoot them because he wanted to know what it felt like to see someone die. Now, all of this is stemmed from his trauma when he was younger. He targeted women that were like his mother, and he killed 10 people, and he overpowered them with his mental and physical capabilities. Okay, now lots of serial killers go through what is called a psychotic break. Now, this is when a loss of contact with reality happens, where people don't really know the difference between what is real and what isn't. So sometimes there can be auditory hallucinations and even visual. Now, these breaks usually occur when the perpetrator has so much built up PTSD or trauma, and they end up getting pushed over their limits and they break. Now, these are really scary for the people around the serial killer, obviously, but they can also be really scary for the killer itself because they might be reliving the same day over and over again, and it could be a very traumatic day for them. For example, lots of military veterans go through a psychotic break as well. There was a man in his late 30s, he had just gotten home from war, and he went on a psychotic break, and he ended up killing 6 innocent bystanders because he thought he was back on the battlefield in war, and he thought these innocent people were his enemy, and he ended up killing 6 of them. To sum everything up, there are many things that create serial killers, but without a doubt, trauma is definitely one of them. They're present in almost all of the serial killers people know. Jeffrey Dahmer, Ted Bundy, they all have some sort of trauma built up. Now, I hope everyone learned a little something today, and the big question still stands. Are these killers born this way, or are they raised? Thank you for your time.